This is a Montie Moment. I'm Johnny Montalbano. As we get you ready for Week 7 in the college football season, a week that we've got a lot to talk about, coming off of a thrilling Week 6 and a very, very intriguing Week number 7 here in college football. If you look at the top 25 poll based off of last week, we saw that Oklahoma and Louisville both rose after the Sooners got past the Longhorns in their Red River Rivalry game. Oklahoma jumped up to 5. Louisville, a big jump as well. You also had Texas, USC, and Notre Dame and Miami all falling after we saw Texas losing, obviously, to Oklahoma. USC winning and dropping out for the third straight week. Notre Dame falling to Louisville, and Miami, who just had, the biggest collapse that we've ever seen, the biggest head-scratching play that you've ever seen with Mario Cristobal's squad not kneeling against Georgia Tech, and then Georgia Tech recovering a fumble and being able to score in the last second. I mean, very head-scratching, almost a fireable offense that. But if you look at the top 25 poll as a whole, Georgia remains number 1. Their most dominant game all season against Kentucky, so they stayed number 1. Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Florida State at 4. Oklahoma jumping up to number 5. Penn State 6, Washington 7, Oregon 8, Texas and USC rounding out the top 10. So as far as the college football playoff picture goes, and we will have the first official college football playoff rankings coming out in about 3 weeks' time on Halloween night. And then, of course, we'll react to it the very next day here on the Montie Moment. But the Sooners are in the discussion after moving up to number 5 in the AP poll. But here's the problem with all of this. They're going to have to run the table because outside of their win last Saturday at the Cotton Bowl, they won't have any significant wins on their schedule. They finish up with UCF, at Kansas, at Oklahoma State, West Virginia, at BYU, and TCU. Meanwhile, a one-loss Texas already has a signature win at Alabama. And those two schools right now that we're talking about, Oklahoma and Texas, are the only Big 12 schools that are currently ranked, which the committee factors that all in. So it's definitely a much bigger deal for Oklahoma to win the Red River Rivalry game than it is the Longhorns. So I think right now, the way you look at it, Oklahoma's got to run the table. They've got to win the Big 12 championship game, finish up with a perfect undefeated season. And then I think you can definitely talk about them in the playoff picture. A one-loss Texas with, their loss being only loss being to Oklahoma, then they have that signature win with Alabama. Now, of course, that Alabama win is going to depend on how the Tide do the rest of the season. And, we're still on Alabama watch. We're waiting for them. Are they going to get that second loss? I tell you, though, I look at them now. I watched them again last week. Yes, is this a perfect Alabama team? It is not, but Jalen Milroe's playing better. Their defense is still good, but they still make a lot of mistakes. They're still very undisciplined, Alabama is. And I know they got a favorable matchup with Arkansas this week, but, you still got Tennessee. You still got LSU on the schedule. You're eventually going to have to play Georgia, it looks like, in the SEC championship, because it's definitely shaping up right now as we sit here in early to mid-October that we're going to be going down this road again. It's going to be an Alabama and Georgia SEC championship game. And right now, I just don't know if this Alabama team is good enough to win. I don't know to win that. Georgia's definitely been playing better. I still have question marks. I know Milroe's been playing better, but I still have question marks with him. So we will see what happens there. But that's where the Texas win against Bama takes that much more meaning if that ends up being the case. Now, let's talk about USC here, because this is another school that's been in the headlines here for the last couple of weeks. Yes, they're undefeated, but defensively, it has been a struggle to say the least. We know how they had to hold on against Colorado 2 weeks ago. Last week, they struggled against Arizona. They got through it in overtime, but now they have to go to Notre Dame, and they're an underdog. Yes, they are getting points at the Irish, USC is. And I'll tell you what, just looking at some stats and just studying the Trojans' games here, I think a reason why you're seeing them struggle defensively is their offense is too good. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they score too quickly. In fact, if you look at their time of possession here, their defense is out on the field more than their offense is. So I don't care if you have the 85 Bears defense. If a defense is out there for more than half the game, it'll get tired. It'll get exposed, especially against great offensive teams. And, the Pac-12 has them. And if you look at who the Trojans have to play here after the Irish, they've got to play Utah, who USC lost to twice in 2022. They got to play Cal, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA. So as much as I want to say that a Pac-12 school is going to be one of the 4 teams playing at the end of the year, it's not going to be the Trojans. And we'll find out, they're going to have to I think they're going to have to not only run this table, but they've got to start playing some stout defense. Now, they've obviously still got Caleb Williams, who is a favorite for the Heisman, but you're starting to see a lot of great quarterbacks and other players in that conversation as well. So here in the middle of October, will we have 4 different conferences in the 14 college football playoff, or will a conference get 2 teams like we've seen before? So it's still wide open here with 3 weeks to go until the first official rankings come out and about 7 weeks or so to go in the season before we get to the conference championships and then bowl season. So let's see what we could do here. Now, I got to tell you, you look at this week coming up, and not only are there a lot of great games, but there are a lot of tempting bet choices. Now, there are 3 games that I'm looking at to watch here. These are not going to be our official picks, but 3 games that I'm just going to tell you that you have to watch here for certain reasons. I wouldn't pick these games against the spread, but these are games that I would actually pick the totals on. And 2 of them are the 2 big Pac-12 matchups, which start at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. You've got 8th-ranked Oregon taking on 7th-ranked Washington. And this matchup is going to looks like the winner of this one is probably going to be the favorite to come out of the Pac-12 right now as we sit here in the middle of October. But you've also got a battle of Heisman candidates here and future NFL draft quarterbacks with Bo Nix there for the Ducks and Michael Penix for Washington. Washington's laying 3 in this matchup, but what I would do is, if I'm a betting man, is I would take the over in this matchup for sure. But if I was kind of a betting person, I actually would lean towards the Ducks in this one. I think they're actually overall the more complete team in this one, but I'm just not confident enough to pick them in a point spread game. But I would definitely take the over, and if I had to, I would lean more towards the Ducks' way. But this is a huge matchup because, like I said, whoever wins this one is going to probably be your favorite in the college football playoff picture and the Pac-12 picture, especially with the way that USC is playing. If they cannot get their defense, squared away here, I think that's what I would do. But that's what I would say a game to watch. Game number 1 to watch. Game number 2 to watch. The other Pac-12 matchup out west at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 18th-ranked UCLA and 15th-ranked Oregon State, who has already taken down the Utah Utes, the 2-time defending Pac-12 champions, at home. And this one pretty much will be an elimination game in the Pac-12, as both schools already have 1 loss in conference play. This is another one with an odd line here. The Beavers are 4-point favorites in this one, which is why I wouldn't play that. But if I had to make a play in this game, well, first of all, if I had to take a point spread in this game, I actually would take the Bruins, who are getting 4 points in this one. I still think the Beavers are going to win this one, but I think it's going to be very, very close. And we've seen how it is to play Oregon State at home. It is a very, very tough place to play. Ask the Utes and how it is. But in this matchup, the question is, can Oregon State stop the Bruins' running attack, especially Carson Steele? There's going to be some decent points scored in this one too. So, again, this is another game where I would take the over more than I would take the point spread, but another good one to watch. And, of course, the big one in South Bend, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC, 10th-ranked USC and 21st-ranked Notre Dame. And Notre Dame actually, again, the ones that are favorites in this one, USC getting points in this matchup. The over-under is over 62. Again, the safe bet in this one to me is the over. The Trojans have allowed 41 points per game over the last 2 and 34 missed tackles in the last 2 weeks. And Notre Dame, if you look at this, they're kind of used to this spot. This is their 4th straight game in prime time. Of course, all nationally televised for everyone to see. In this matchup, Caleb Williams, he's the ultimate equalizer for how that porous defense is for the Trojans. But here's what I look at from the Irish side of things. If they're able to run the ball, Sam Hartman able to make plays downfield, and the Irish able to get long, sustaining drives, then they're going to win this one, because then you've got that porous defense going to be out there. Yes, USC could come back and score real quick, but again, time of possession, like we mentioned a couple of minutes ago. I could see this one going either way, which is why I wouldn't take the spread, but I could definitely see both of these teams putting up 30 points in this one. So I think the over is going to hit in this one too. So if you like offense, you're definitely going to like Saturday in the college football slate. And if you like college football, you're going to like the whole slate because we had 3 games on Tuesday. We got games Wednesday. We have games Thursday, games Friday, and, of course, the big slate here on Saturday. So those are my ones to watch. Let me get to the games that are actually count for my record here against the spread. And these are games that we will pick against the spread. Now, last week we went 2-1 once again. So we're on a nice little trend here. We're 14-9 in 2023. The only game that I got burned on and that prevented me from having a perfect week, which I should have had, was the fact that I took Missouri getting 6.5 against LSU, and they were covering until the end of the game when they threw a pick 6 there at the end, and LSU ran it back. So we got burned 2 weeks ago by going with LSU, and we got burned last week by going against LSU. But you know what? We won the Red River Rivalry game because we took Oklahoma getting points, and they won that one outright. And we won with Alabama, who was laying 2.5 against A&M. And again, the way that they played with Jalen Milroe plays like that, limits the mistakes. If Alabama can clean up their mistakes and their penalties, then Alabama can make a run at this late. I just don't know they're going to be able to because they haven't shown for 2 years that the discipline can get better. That's the thing, and they're still making mistakes out there. And against top superior teams, again, they still got a couple of more ranked teams they got to play in the schedule. Tennessee, I think, is coming up next week. That's going to be an interesting test for them. We'll see if they could do that. But Alabama's still alive while everybody and their kid brother is trying to find a way for Nick Saban's squad to get that second loss and ultimately knock them out of the playoff discussion picture. But right now, the way that this picture is, you got to think about it. I mean, USC, who I had as one of my 4 teams, they're in a lot of trouble right now with how they've been playing here these last couple of weeks. But let's get to the picks against the spread here. And in game number 1, I'm going to pick a local game here. I live in the Murrells Inlet, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area. So let's go a little bit west here of where I am, and let's go to the Gamecocks here. Florida and South Carolina at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. The Gamecocks are a 2.5-point favorite, and I'm taking South Carolina in this one, laying the 2.5, because when I look at these two teams, Florida needs to show up for the first half of road games. We've seen this already with them playing against Utah to start the year, and against Tennessee. Until they show up, it's hard for me to pick the Gators on a road game. They're going to have to keep Spencer Rattler quiet. I think that's a key for the Gators squad, but their secondary hasn't been the strongest unit this year, mostly due to turnovers, lack thereof, and poor play from their veteran members. Now, you look at Spencer Rattler, got to be fair. He's definitely improved a lot since last year. The Gamecocks have hung close with Georgia in that first half of that game a couple of weeks back until the fourth quarter when the Bulldogs started to find a rhythm of offense while forcing South Carolina to make desperate plays. South Carolina had 2 costly turnovers against Tennessee. But I also look at this matchup, and I'm going to go with the team that I think needs this game more and do I trust more. And to me, I trust Spencer Rattler, Shane Beamer, and the Gamecocks. So in game number 1, we're going to take the Gamecocks laying the 2.5 against Florida. Game number 2, out west, I'm taking 19th ranked Washington State here, laying the 8 against Arizona at 7 p.m. Eastern. This is back-to-back road games for the Wildcats, and are they going to be able to get up for another road test after that overtime defeat against USC? I just don't see it because I look at Washington State's side. They started off with a quartet of wins. Only one of them was a close one. They opened up with a 50-24 win over Colorado State. They beat Wisconsin 31-22. They followed that up with a 64-21 blowout win over Northern Colorado, and then a tight escape at home 38-35 over Oregon State. Now, last Saturday against UCLA, which was their only loss, they had a 17-12 lead going into the fourth quarter, and then the Cougars gave up 13 unanswered points. I like how Cam Ward's been playing, and I think he's going to go off here. This is a tough offense for Arizona to face, and the number actually has been coming down in this one. It actually at one point was 10.5, but it's now down to 8, and I'm going to take, as I said, I'm going to take Washington State laying the 8, and I'm also going to continue a trend here because Arizona has lost each of his last 11 October games as an underdog. Well, let's make it a dozen. So the Cougars minus the 8 in game 2. Game number 3, this pick has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with the epic fail by Mario Cristobal's Miami Hurricanes squad at the end of their game last week against Georgia Tech. This game has everything, I repeat, everything to do with how the North Carolina Tar Heels are. They're laying 3.5 at home. The 12th ranked Tar Heels are against 25th ranked Miami. And they're looking to start 6-0 here for the first time since 1997. I think they're going to get this one done here. You know, their offense, the Tar Heels offense, has not been slowed down once this season. They scored more than 30 points in all 5 of their games. They're just coming off of the game last week against Syracuse where they racked up 644 total yards of offense, 32 first downs, 40 points against Syracuse. And, you know, this is going to continue against a team that, pun intended, is dealing with a Category 1 like hurricane in their locker room following last week. Damage done. Give me the Tar Heels laying the 3.5 at home at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. So we're going with 3 home favorites for our picks this week. I'm going to take the Gamecocks laying 2.5 against Florida, the Cougars laying 8 against the Wildcats, and the Tar Heels laying the 3.5 against the Hurricanes on Saturday night. If you like all of our college picks, well, you'll love our pro picks. I will see you back on Friday at 12 p.m. for week 6 of the NFL picks against the spread. So a true great Saturday and Sunday slate of college and pro football. And again, if you love football in general, you know, we are going to continue to have games day in and day out pretty much every day until the end of November. So as we start to enter the second half of the college season, we're just a couple of weeks away from the first college football playoff committee rankings, and that's going to take it to a whole nother level. And I tell you, there's still a lot that we don't know yet. You know, Ohio State, are they going to be in there? Florida State, are we going to have an ACC school in there? Can we get a Pac-12 school? Are we going to get a Big 12 school in the Final Four here as we get down the stretch of the season in the final year of the 14 playoff as we know it, the final year of the Pac-12 as we know it? There's so much that has to be decided. I cannot wait for this weekend to get started. So for more, like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameOnETB. You can follow me on Twitter at Montalbano NY as well as on Instagram at Montalbano NY. Check us out on our website, first off, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, where if you like our Montie Moments and all of our content, please leave us a like. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. And, of course, have your notifications set so you never miss another Montie Moment or any of our great content that's coming out. And I say that also because we may be doing a Montie Moment on an unscheduled day now with how crazy the sports calendar now here is in October, with now postseason baseball, with hockey being back, with basketball not that far away. There's so much happening. So, of course, have your notifications set. Check us out at our website at etbpodcast.com. You can get great blog posts, fantasy angles, you know, written NFL picks, so much more on our website. And if you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can catch us on the go wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Download, subscribe, and also check us out on the go as well. So enjoy your football weekend, everybody. It should be a great one. I'll see you back here next week. I'm Johnny Montalbano.